Welcome to the Sua Sponte podcast. I'm Ken Harper, your host, and today with me is Kyle Daby, or Dabby, however you know him, from Ranger Battalion. Anyways, hey Kyle, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good. All right. So, what years and what all did you do while you were in Ranger Battalion?
Um, I joined the delayed entry program with the option 40, so I went straight through. Um, I graduated RASP December 7th, got into battalion, 3rd Battalion, and then left September of 2016. So towards the end of the big stuff, as far as I know, just a few deployments, a few training cycles, and then it's time to go.
So, 2012 to 2016 is when you were in,
Yeah.
and then so since you've gotten out of battalion, what have you been up to? What are you doing now?
Now I'm a stay-at-home father. I tried, many different things to kind of, really come into a role, so to speak, of just what I felt I needed to do. Um, Getting out, you kind of still feel the need to prove yourself, especially coming from a place like Regiment where you constantly need to excel or exceed the standards. There wasn't really, just settling wasn't an option. Um, but a lot of hit and misses, and then here I am doing the stay-at-home dad.
So, is there any advice that you have for guys like since you've gotten out, like things you've struggled with, things that you felt like have been helpful for you?
Yeah, a lot. Um, I've been a big proponent since 2013 after my first Ranger buddy committed suicide, or sorry, died by suicide, um, of kind of changing the stigma as far as getting the help that you need, and that manning up doesn't really mean doing the easy thing and just trying to bury it. Like, do the hard thing, ask for help. It's okay. Um, I've been very fortunate that I've had a good support system between my family and friends and my wife and my two kids. Um, but I know a lot of guys that haven't had that. Um, I struggled with alcoholism. Um, I used to chain smoke like crazy. I had to give all that up, and you know, I thought it'd be a lot harder than it was, and there still are bad days, but just gotta keep going, man.
Do you feel like alcohol and smoking was like your biggest struggle getting out, or like I know we had talked about like you did some SSRIs and some other things.
Um, no. Um, when I first got out, I was on Effexor and gabapentin, and I didn't realize it at the time. It took a few months, maybe even a few years, to really realize that just combination of medicine just synergized and made my head not okay. Um, I don't remember a lot of it. It just turned my whole life into a fog for a few years. Um, and then, of course, the drinking just kind of came with it. If it makes
Yeah.
me feel good at the time, why not? And yeah, some dark places, man. Some really dark places.
So, what do you what do you think? You think guys need to be more cognizant and aware of the combination of alcohol and their drugs? You think the VA wasn't real helpful with that?
The VA, no, no. Um, I think the biggest deciding factor to kind of just fully go and do my research was just talking to the boys. I'd reached out, and a couple guys. I know Gonzo has had some similar issues. Um, and a lot of the guys would come back at me after I'm like, hey, how are you feeling? How are you doing with this? And they'd say, hey, I had to take myself off of this, or yeah, I'm having that too. I'm struggling. I've got a few friends in the Air Force and the Coast Guard, and unfortunately the Marines. Um, and it was just a lot of back and forth, kind of trying to figure things out. Um, and even the VA, which hasn't always done right by me, um, we're still capable of, getting the point across. Don't drink with your medicine, because you're going to end up darker, or in a darker spot than you went in.
So why did you take those medications? Like why'd they prescribe them to you?
The effects are just for the PTSD, the stress, anxiety, depression. Gabapentin, I've got nerve damage. So that was GABA blockers, is essentially what it is. I've got nerve damage from my neck down. Um, in 2017 and 18, it got to a point, both years I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, um, left in a wheelchair. I had to go, I had to have my mom live with me, because that was a safety risk. The VA wouldn't let me go home unless I had somebody to take care of me. And I was in the middle of my first divorce at that point. So my mom had to come, and, physical therapist from the VA 2 to 3 times a week, helping me do the whole out of the wheelchair into the walker, from the walker to the cane, and just getting back at it.
So you got like a double dose getting out of the military. You get out of the military, and then also you get in a wheelchair.
Yeah, it's
So
like a parting gift.
That's got to be pretty hard on your head and everything.
It was, and I really have to give credit to my friends and my family for that. I can't imagine where I'd be right now, or where I wouldn't be, if I didn't have the support system. Um, but I mean, everybody came through for me, and I'm extremely fortunate. Um, Sometimes, you get in that headspace where you don't feel like you've got a lucky hand dealt to you, and then times like that, you really realize,
So what are some
well,
things that your friends did that you feel like really helped you out? Just being there, or what?
uh, yeah. One of my really good friends the first time, um, a guy named PJ. Uh, he I was hospitalized. I was still inpatient during Super Bowl Sunday, so he brought me some leftovers from his mom's house, and then he smuggled in some like little airport shooters and a bunch of like blueberry edibles. So I think that helped the hospital stay.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I just had so many visitors who, for me, even during that time, I had my friend who had um, died by suicide, um, and just the airborne rangers in the sky, and guys who had gotten hurt. And right before I got out, one of my first friends in battalion um, had moved to first and died shortly after a jump incident. Um, so no matter where I was, I was always with that mentality, somebody's got it worse. So what am I going to do by, like, you know, putting
Yeah.
myself down more of the situation? Somebody's got it worse. I know guys who have had it worse.
Yeah, that's definitely a good mentality to have. Is someone always has it harder than we do, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Everybody processes trauma differently. So you got to figure it out.
So in those times, like, and even now, I mean, you're still struggling with stuff. What are you doing to stay like mentally alert and physically strong and morally straight? Like, what do you look to? What kind of routine do you have that,
Uh,
feeds that?
I, every morning, the gym. I've got to. I went through a long period of time where I wasn't taking physical care of myself, and one of the good doctors at the VA did a good job of talking about how it's kind of a pyramid effect, where the top one will affect the left one, the left one will affect the top one and the right one, and it all coincides, or it's all part of one unit. So you got to take care of yourself, and then it'll make the mental wellness a little bit easier. Um,
Yeah.
I had to find some hobbies, especially like after getting out. You're not doing training cycles anymore. You have so much time, especially, in the Ranger unit. You get 2 weeks off before deployment and 2 weeks off after. Other than that, it's training cycle or deployment. And then you get out and you have so much time. You don't know what to do with it. You're not, if you sleep in, you have somebody banging on your door and you're going to be in trouble if you don't wake up for PT. All of a sudden, you're sleeping until 9 and you wake up and it's just quiet. Um,
Yeah.
so, hobbies, gym, you got to figure out a way to stay positive.
So in that situation, like you're getting out of battalion, you got more freedom than you've ever had in your whole life, but also you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what drove you? Just the fact that you got kids and a wife, you needed to get up and take care of them, or like you just
Well,
realized things needed to get better and they weren't going to do it on their own?
yeah, first time was 2017, and that was before I met my wife now. Um, a big part of it was I didn't I didn't want to be the guy that let that like be his story, and that's absolutely nothing against the guys who have um, succumbed to their situations, but it was just part of that, that Ranger creed just drilled into you, like surrender is not a Ranger word, like you just need to keep going.
Yeah.
um, and so a little bit of pride, um, and more looking at my friends who had passed, um, and just telling myself, if they were right there, what would I be doing? Because I wouldn't be laying down and saying, give me another 30 minutes. I'd be up at it. I'd be trying. I'd be pushing. So it's self pride. It's trying to make my friends and my Ranger buddies who have pushed and pushed and pushed and persevered, about making them proud too. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard, but we're all here for a reason,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
all made it. And so there's a purpose, so we
Yeah,
gotta we gotta find what that is, find what we're good at, and use those gifts, for other people.
yeah,
And
and
yeah,
yeah, I've struggled with the is there fate, is there destiny, all that kind of higher up stuff. Um, but what it all comes down to is right now you have a choice to make, and what are the consequences of each, both good and bad consequences. And um, when it came time where I couldn't figure it out, I knew people who would help me figure it out. So even then, when my intestinal fortitude wasn't where it should have been, I had people, you know, as we were talking about the other day with the moral compass. If it's all internal, you've got nothing else to guide it off of. You need people to help keep you on the straight and narrow if you start to waver. And when it came time to decide or to choose which way to go, more often than not, your Ranger buddies have your back, your family has your back. It's just you got to ask.
yeah. All right, well, Kyle, we really appreciate your time. We appreciate, you being honest and sharing
Yeah,
your story, and being willing to let people reach out to you, and even being an example of reaching out to others. And
absolutely.
I know it's hard, all the stuff you've gone through, but you just got to keep pushing and driving. And
Yeah, everybody.
we appreciate your time and everything you do, Kyle.
Thanks,
Rangers lead the
Ben.
way.